Last session I was talking about forebrain, and under the forebrain we were studying about the diencephalon that consists of thalamus, epithalamus and hypothalamus. So here in this picture you can see where the diencephalon is located. So you can see this portion is this portion is the thalamus. Below that thalamus we have a hypothalamus portion. So I'll show that in another picture, and you can see the cerebellum here, and below this you will have even the midbrain. So that we'll see in another picture. So here in the last session we have already seen about the thalamus. We'll see about hypothalamus. So here this hypothalamus is usually regarded as the head of autonomic nervous system. And this hypothalamus will form the floor and side walls the floor and the side walls of a ventricle. So later we'll say about these ventricles. Okay, and here attached to lower side of this hypothalamus is the presence of a pituitary gland. So on lower side of hypothalamus, it has pituitary gland. Okay, and then even the hypothalamus contains certain structures called mammillary bodies. So it also has mammillary bodies, and these mammillary bodies are concerned with the smell. So so they're concerned with the smell. So usually these mammillary bodies are small, round, almost I would say small pea sized bodies. So small, so almost I say they're all to a pea sized structures which are placed side by side. Now coming to these functions of a hypothalamus. So here this hypothalamus is a chief regulator for many visceral activities. So it is a regulator for heartbeat, then movement of through GIT, that stands for gastrointestinal tract, and then contraction of urinary bladder. So are some functions under the control of a hypothalamus. And here, and one more, so it is also assumed to be the center for rage. Okay, so it's a center for rage. So that includes like violent controllable anger. Uncontrollable anger is also under this hypothalamus, and it controls body temperature. Okay, and then it's a center for thirst. And also helps in controlling waking and sleeping states. Okay, so are some functions of this hypothalamus. So we'll see another picture. So so in this picture we can see this is all is cerebrum. Okay, we have left and right cerebral hemispheres, and those left and right cerebral hemispheres are actually connected by right a, a structure called corpus callosum. So it's a okay, corpus callosum. So here you can see this portion is corpus callosum. It's okay, and below this, this portion is the thalamus. So this is the thalamus portion, and below the thalamus, this portion is hypothalamus. Okay, so you can see below the hypothalamus, so this small okay structure that is attached to hypothalamus by a stalk called infundibulum. So this is the pituitary gland. So this one is pituitary gland, and this green portion what we see here is the midbrain. So you can see here this is a midbrain. So the midbrain is so small. So here this all portion, so whatever you see from here, okay, so all these four, so forebrain, by almost 80%. So all this is the forebrain, and this small portion is the brain. You can see only this much portion is of hindbrain. Is hindbrain. Okay, so that cerebellum, pons, and medulla will come under this. So this whole portion is hindbrain. Okay, and only this green area which I have here, this is the midbrain. The remaining all is the forebrain, and you can see very clearly in this the the thalamus, and below that we have is hypothalamus, and attached to that is the pituitary gland. And here you can see a small structure. So this is a endocrine gland called pineal body. So this is the pineal body. So here actually you are seeing the LS, the longitudinal section. So LS of human brain. So you're seeing LS of a human brain. So in this LS you can see all those parts very clearly. Okay. And here coming to the brain, so the gray matter, especially the gray matter and white matter. Uh, so here the gray matter. So this gray matter, this will consist of cell bodies. It consists of cell bodies, and the gray matter will be present outer. So you will see the gray matter, okay, mostly on outer side. So here, okay, fine. So you can see a small region. So here, this is how you see the gray matter. So that in the picture. So this is the gray matter is outer, whereas the white matter, the white matter will be inner. So it will be inner, and this white matter will consist of right axons with the myelin sheath. It consists of axons with the myelin sheath. So that myelin sheath actually gives it white color, right? And here the presence of cell bodies will give it a gray matter. So just I'll put it in. So say suppose this outer side is the gray. I'm really, so this portion is the gray matter, that is outer, and one is white matter. Okay. So here I show you a picture. So here I have taken a transverse section of the brain. So in TS, of course, even in LS, you will see outer word. So here you will find that gray matter. Okay, so here it is TS, and you can see in this TS very clearly. So the gray matter, that is outer region. So you can see clearly the gray matter, and the white matter that is present on inner side. Next, in the forebrain, we have another system. It's called limbic system or limbic lobe. So this limbic system or limbic lobe is also called uh, paleomammalian cortex, called paleomammalian cortex. And this limbic lobe is actually a set of brain structures. It is set of brain structures that are located on either side of thalamus, on either side of thalamus. So here you can see the structures. So this amygdala is a part of the limbic system. So the hippocampus is also the part of the limbic system. So when coming under this limbic lobe, so this limbic lobe, it includes amygdala, it includes hippocampus, right? And this, of course, along with the hypothalamus, can help in regulation of several functions like motivation, behavior. So we'll see here. So plus along with this, so of course, the limbic lobe consists of amygdala and hippocampus, plus this hypothalamus. Along with this hypothalamus, which is not part of the limbic lobe, but it will be together. So they have different functions like emotions. So emotions, right, and then behavior of the person, then motivation, then sexual behavior, then long term memory, so etc. are functions of this limbic lobe. So these emotions include like excitement, pleasure, rage, fear, etc. Will come under these emotions. Okay, so you can see in this picture the hippocampus. So this portion is the hippocampus, and you can see coiling around this whole structure that's present around the thalamus. Okay, and here above the hippocampus, this portion is the amygdala, and below that this portion is the hippocampus, and along with that hypothalamus, it performs several functions which I mentioned here, right? So next we'll say about midbrain. So the next one we shall see about midbrain. So coming to this midbrain, the location of this midbrain. So already I have shown you in the previous picture. So where is the location of midbrain? So it is the smallest out of the three parts, that is fore and hindbrain. Now this midbrain is located between thalamus, or you can take even hypothalamus, located between thalamus or hypothalamus, okay, of the forebrain. So these two are parts of forebrain, and pons of hindbrain. So this is where the midbrain is located. Okay, and the midbrain actually connects the pons and cerebellum with the cerebrum, and here passing through the midbrain there is a canal. The canal is called cerebral aqueduct. It's called cerebral aqueduct. So later we'll see about this all. This is also called duct of Sylvius. These are all parts of ventricles. I'll discuss those brain ventricles separately. So that time we'll see all about these. So cerebral aqueduct passes through the midbrain. So it's a canal passing through midbrain. Is passing through midbrain. Okay, so here the roof of this mesencephalon, that is the roof of this mesencephalon, this is called tectum. It's called tectum. So that is roof of midbrain is called tectum. Okay, and this tectum shows four rounded elevations. So it shows four rounded elevations. So these four rounded elevations are called corpora quadrigemina. So they're called corpora quadrigemina are present. So you can see here out of these corpora quadrigemina, so I'll show this in the picture. So the corpora quadrigemina has an upper pair and a lower pair. So the corpora, so it has an upper pair. So this upper pair is called superior colliculi. Called superior colliculi, and the lower pair is called inferior colliculi. Now we can see in this picture. So this is the occipital lobe of cerebrum. Okay, and below that you can see these rounded green colored structures. So this is superior colliculi. Okay, and below that two more structures. So these are called inferior. Okay, so of course you can see from this angle. So this is a pineal body. It's a pineal body. Okay, so this is cerebellum. Okay, so this superior colliculi, so two superior colliculi, so there are two in number, and two inferior colliculi that together form the corpora quadri, which means four structures together. Now coming to the functions of these superior colliculi. So let's see the function. Superior colliculi are centers for visual reflex. So the centers for visual reflex, whereas inferior colliculi, so inferior colliculi, so they are involved in auditory reflexes. Involved in auditory reflexes. Next, deep in the white matter of this midbrain. So deep in white matter of midbrain, so there is a structure. So it's a nucleus. There is a nucleus, and this nucleus is called substantia nigra. Substantia nigra. So this substantia nigra is it plays an important role, and this plays an important role in the substantia nigra plays an important role in reward addiction and mind. So here there is a disease called Parkinson's disease. So in Parkinson's disease, actually what happens is there is a death of the dopaminergic neurons. So in this disease, there is a death of dopaminergic neurons. So who actually use dopamine, a neurotransmitter. So that is located. So these dopaminergic neurons are located in parts compacta of substantia nigra. So this death of these neurons will result in a disease called Parkinson's disease. That's all about midbrain. Then we'll see about hindbrain. So the next one we'll see about hindbrain. So this hindbrain has three parts. One is cerebellum, then second one is pons varolai, and third one is medulla oblongata. Are three parts. Okay, so here we can see in this picture, so there is a cerebellum here, okay, and this is the pons varolai, and this portion is the medulla, and medulla continues to run as a spinal cord. Okay, so first we'll see here about cerebellum. So this cerebellum, already in my previous sessions I mentioned that it is called small brain, and this is located below, right, the occipital lobe, below the occipital lobe. So you can see here this is the occipital lobe of a forebrain, and below that located is the cerebellum. Okay, and this is bilaterally symmetrical. So bilaterally symmetrical is bilaterally symmetrical, and this one is the second, okay, largest part of a brain, second largest part of brain, and this one occupies around 11% of total brain. So it is 11% of total brain. And just like how we have seen in case of cerebrum, the cerebellum also shows two equal halves or lateral halves. So there are the cerebellum have, it has, okay, two lateral halves. So it has two lateral halves, and each half is called cerebellar hemisphere. It's called cerebellar hemisphere. So there it is, cerebral hemisphere. This is different. Cerebellar hemisphere is different, and cerebral hemisphere is different. The cerebellar, okay, is the cerebellar hemisphere is a part of cerebellum, okay, whereas cerebral hemisphere is a part of cerebrum. So there also we have seen, okay, two equal halves that are connected by, okay, corpus callosum. So here this is that portion called corpus callosum, right? So it has two equal halves, that is cerebral hemispheres here. Now the two cerebral hemispheres are actually connected by a worm like a median structure. So these two are connected by, okay, so two lateral cerebellar hemispheres are connected by okay, a elongated, so an elongated median, okay, or I'll say elongated worm like structure, that is called vermis. An elongated worm like structure is vermis. So later I'll show that one. Okay, now the cerebellar cortex is heavily folded, so you can see here in this is the cerebral, okay, I mean sorry, cerebellar cortex. So this is cerebellar cortex. So the cerebellar cortex is heavily folded, right? And these folds are called folia. So here also it will show the subcortical region that will be in white color, so that will be having white matter, and the outer one will be the gray matter. So when we take a sagittal section of this cerebellum, then we see the white matter appears like a tree. So already you can see in this picture, so this is a sagittal section, so you can see like a tree trunk, and these are all the branches. Okay, so you can see, so it appears like a tree in a sagittal section. So that is called the arbor vitae. So we call it arbor vitae. So the meaning of arbor vitae is a tree of life. So arbor vitae, which means it is a tree of life. Coming to the functions of cerebellum. So we have here, so it actually controls goal oriented movements. So it controls goal movements, so that will be okay, smooth and precisely. It does this job, like for example lifting a glass of water from the table. So that is, it controls goal oriented movements, and then it also helps in, okay, maintains the correct posture, maintains correct posture and equilibrium, and equilibrium in static and dynamic conditions. So static, which means while sitting, right, and dynamic, which means while running. So in running and while sitting, so this cerebellum takes control, and I mean it maintains that correct posture. So injury to cerebellum can loss of precision. It results in loss of precision, and also results in that unsteady or impaired movements. So the next one we'll say about the pons villi. So here actually the meaning of a pons is bridge. Okay, and here the pons villi, it lies between midbrain and medulla oblongata. Okay, so it lies between midbrain and medulla oblongata. Okay, and this will consist of tracks, okay, nerve fiber tracks. So there are a lot of nerve fiber tracks. So these nerve fiber tracks that run in two directions, in directions. So here there are transverse fibers. So these transverse fibers will connect the cerebellum and pons. They connect cerebellum and pons. Whereas the second one are called longitudinal fibers. So these longitudinal fibers will connect uh, brain and spinal cord and spinal cord, right? And in the pons viruli, there are also nerve fibers that connect motor cortex. So there are nerve fibers, okay, that connect the motor cortex, of cerebrum, motor cortex of a cerebrum with the cerebellum. Okay, and coming to the functions of pons. So coming to the functions of pons, we see here. So it has a respiratory center. So let's see the functions of pons viruli. So it has a respiratory center called pneumotaxic center. So pneumotaxic center, right? And along with the center that is located in the medulla. So this is going to maintain the normal rhythm of the breathing process. So this pneumotaxic center of pons and also plays a center, okay, a rhythm center in medulla. So these together will maintain normal rhythm, maintain the normal rhythm of breathing process. Okay, so that's one function, and another is it connects. So it connects cerebellum, okay, with the cerebrum. It connects cerebellum with the cerebrum, and cerebrum with spinal cord. Okay, so those are functions of the pons. Okay, so the next one we'll say about medulla oblongata. So coming to this medulla oblongata, so this is the last part of brain that continues as a spinal cord, okay, and this goes out of the skull through the, that medulla oblongata that runs as spinal cord. So that spinal cord, okay, will go through the, the skull through a hole, what we call it foramen magnum, and continues as a spinal cord. Okay, so here on the dorsal side of on dorsal side of this medulla oblongata, it has posterior choroid plexus, as posterior choroid plexus. So these posterior choroid plexus will secrete CSF, so that is cerebrospinal fluid, and there are longitudinal nerve tracts in this medulla oblongata. Longitudinal nerve tracts. So these longitudinal nerve tracts in the medulla oblongata, they are going to connect spinal cord, okay, with the thalamus and cerebrum, with the thalamus and cerebrum. Then coming on the ventral side of the medulla oblongata, on ventral side of the medulla oblongata, right, there are okay, two roughly triangular structures. So two roughly triangular structures are present. So these two roughly triangular structures are called pyramids. They're called pyramids, and these pyramids, they are composed of uh, okay, the motor nerve tracts. So they, it consists of, okay, of course, largest motor nerve tracts. So these nerve tracts that arise from the cerebral cortex and extend up to spinal cord. Okay, then at the junction between medulla and pons, so most of these motor fibers in the left pyramid cross the right side and vice versa, and this is what we call the decussation of pyramids. So here, okay, so at the junction, so in the junction between medulla and pons, between medulla and pons, okay, so those motor fibers cross each other. So those motor fibers, okay, cross, okay, from left to right and right to left, so that's vice versa, and this results in the formation of okay, a structure. So what we say, it decussation of pyramids, of pyramids. So right here I'm showing you the picture. So you can see a lot of right nerve fiber tracks. So all these are nerve fiber tracks. So you can see here that originate from the cerebellum. So they all move here, and in the medulla oblongata you can see that, okay, the nerve fiber tracks are crossing each other. So you can see the nerve fiber tracks crossing each other, and that is what we call the decussation of pyramids. Okay, right. The next function of this, I mean, the next point of this medulla oblongata, that it actually encloses fourth ventricle. The medulla oblongata encloses the fourth ventricle, and the nerves, the cranial nerves 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12th cranial nerves. Okay, so all these are cranial nerves. So these cranial nerves will arise from the medulla oblongata, arise from medulla oblongata. So 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 cranial nerves will arise from this medulla oblongata. So now coming to functions of medulla oblongata, functions of medulla oblongata. So here it has three vital reflex centers. Three vital reflex centers are located in this in the medulla oblongata. So one, it is the cardiac center. So it is cardiac center. Okay, then the second one is respiratory center, respiratory center, and the third one is a vasoconstrictor center. So which means that helps in constriction of blood vessels and increasing the blood pressure. So it has three vital reflexes. So one is cardiac center, respiratory center, and vasoconstrictor center. Okay, right, so that's about the medulla oblongata. And okay, a few more points I would like to tell the functions here. So actually it has centers for controlling swallowing, then cough, sneezing, then vomiting also comes under this medulla oblongata controls, then hiccoughing and drinking reflexes, etc. so are under medulla oblongata. So here the midbrain plus hindbrain. So together it constitutes okay brain. So, but we'll see the major regions of the brain stem. So of course midbrain, okay, and then we have is pons, and then medulla oblongata. So excluding the cerebellum, so we considered, so these are the three main regions of brainstem. Okay, so these are three main regions of brainstem. Okay, so with this I'll end up here. So in the next session we'll see about ventricles of brain.